So the next Battlefield game got revealed, and I didn't know whether I wanted to put this on the main channel or the second channel. So here we are on the second channel. This is where I'm trying to do like other games other than Call of Duty, other first-person shooters, and just me talking to you guys, that kind of thing. But here we are today. Now, if you don't know what's going on, Battlefield just got revealed, the next Battlefield game. The title of this is an exclusive with IGN. It says Vince Zampella confirms next Battlefield will use a modern setting and first concept art revealed. This that you are looking at here is the first concept art, and I must say it's pretty intriguing. First of all, as they go into here, it says it looks like Italy or France or somewhere in Europe where this is taking place. So they didn't say an exact city or an exact area where this takes place. Now, they did mention that there is going to be helicopter combat, as you can see in the background, ship-to-ship combat, which you can kind of see in the water here, as well as natural disasters. So whether those be earthquakes or the one that we are seeing here is a giant forest fire. Now, if I remember correctly, when Battlefield was working on a battle royale, they were specifically making the forest fire the way of closing in the zone, which I honestly do think is a good idea. But as we can see, that seems to be making a return here. Now, they left out a ton of specifics, but there's a couple things that I want to point out right away. First of all, Vince Zampella. If you don't know that name, he is kind of a big deal because he was one of the original developers on Modern Warfare 2. He's like OG Call of Duty, like real OG Call of Duty. Now, he ended up going to Respawn. Respawn is a studio working underneath EA who worked on Titanfall, who worked on a bunch of other games, I believe Apex Legends, and he's made some good stuff. He's done some good things, and now, as you can tell, he is heading off Battlefield. Now, there's a couple things that they go into here. First of all, Battlefield going back to basics. So this is essentially referring to the fact that when Vince Zampella is talking about where this Battlefield game is going, he talks about Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 as the most Battlefieldness. I believe that is the exact words that he used. So that is what he is considering the basics of Battlefield. He also says that 1942 has a special place in his heart. It has also a special place in my heart. It was, I believe, the first-person shooter I played on PC. I could be wrong, but I believe it was up there. It was like that, Half-Life 2, Counter-Strike Source, a bunch of those old ones, but Battlefield 1942 is up there for me. So that is what they are talking about. It then goes into talking about the 128 player maps that were in Battlefield 2042. So those they said they are working away from. They will not be touching those, as well as the specialist characters that were not very well panned out in Battlefield 2042. So basically, as they say, they made that game feel a little bit too much like a hero shooter, and the 128 player maps weren't focused enough. So that is the next section that he says here. I'd rather have nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play spaces. Some of them are really good. So essentially what he's saying there is we have a modern game. He is focused on 64 player maps in the modern era with helicopter combat, with ship-to-ship combat, of course, other vehicles. But then these natural disasters are going to play in as well. Now, there hasn't been anything said as far as campaign or anything like that. Really just what they were focused on here is what they are changing and what they are getting away from. He was careful to stress that Battlefield 2042 wasn't a failure of a game. So he didn't say like we failed on that one and we're going to do better, but he did say we're going to do better. Now, the other section that I would like to quickly point out is the road ahead here. They very quickly compare Battlefield and specifically this next Battlefield, which by the way, they do go in depth here and say that this is not necessarily the title. It doesn't mean that this next game is the title, but based off of what I have read through this article, it appears as though to me, they are trying to do a reboot of the series. They are trying to do what Call of Duty did with Modern Warfare 2019. They are trying to just be like, this is now Battlefield. We are starting fresh. This is Battlefield 1, even though they've had Battlefield and they've quite literally had Battlefield 1. But I think you know what I'm getting at here. Now, the one that I want to read here is this. This is Vince Zampella. He says, if you look at the best Battlefields have outsold some Call of Duties and other way around, back and forth. So I think it absolutely can. So essentially, IGN asked if they think Battlefield can outsell Call of Duty, and it says that he thinks that they absolutely can because it has in the past. Now, if you're asking me, I don't know what Battlefields actually have, but to my knowledge, I don't know of any. But he says, I mean, is that what we are going for? I mean, not directly, but always, whatever that means. We are not looking to take down Call of Duty. We're making something that's different, and we are making something that's us. But yeah, it definitely has the possibility to outsell Call of Duty. So I actually really like that response, because I've talked about this with X Defiant. I've talked about this with the finals. We actually talked about this earlier today on the channel. To out Call of Duty, you're not going to do it. The only thing that's going to kill Call of Duty is Call of Duty. And if you try to beat Call of Duty, you have to have something really, really, really special that Call of Duty does not. And I just don't see that as a possibility for Battlefield. Battlefield has to be Battlefield, and it has to be the best Battlefield. And could it outsell Call of Duty? Yes. Would it be hard? Yes. Now, they also go in to talk about franchising with like a TV show for Battlefield, and they compare it to Last of Us and Fallout. And they said that they have had some opportunities to do so, but yeah. He said, I think we are in a really good place. Is it challenging? Of course, but it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't. Now, essentially what they are talking about here is when this will be releasing. They talk about the PS5 Pro being announced. They talk about ramping up for 2025. And basically, based off of what IGN is saying, this game will be coming in 2025 to be kind of like this early game for the PS5 Pro and even the Switch 2, which is super interesting because Call of Duty is also supposed to be coming to Nintendo. So there's like this really, really interesting dynamic when it comes to this. So I just wanted to quickly make a video. I think the biggest takeaways here are, number one, we have Battlefield. That is the only name. That is the only thing that we have seen. We have only seen concept art, and it obviously is somewhere in Europe. This literally came out on a random Monday in September with no real reason other than EA is revealing these details ahead of its investor day, which is coming tomorrow. So in other words, I think they have some bad news for their investor day. So they wanted to head it off with something good, saying, hey, this is coming. We don't know when. We don't know what it's going to look like, but it is coming. And this is what we have here with Battlefield. Also, the other big takeaway is Vince Zampella. I think that is a bigger deal than most people may think. And yeah, they asked him about Call of Duty, but the fact that he is saying, I'm not going for Call of Duty, I think is a very, very, very good thing for the franchise. I don't want this to be Call of Duty. I want this to be something else. And will it have crossover? Will it have some things that are like Call of Duty? Probably. But they're going for their own thing. They're not going for a hero shooter. They are going for the Battlefield feel, which I think is what a Battlefield needs. Now, do I see this as a potential 2025 game? Maybe, but it would probably be late 2025. And with the rumor of what is happening with Call of Duty next year, with it potentially being another Black Ops game, it might be a very, very good time for a Battlefield to come out. We're going to have to wait and see. But from what I'm hearing, from what I'm seeing, this is interesting. Let me know what you think down in the comments. This is all we really know as of now. And Battlefield's back. Well, kind of. Not yet. Soon. Battlefield is come. Battlefield.